Some people wish they were more spontaneous and risk-taking, while other people wish they were more cautious, had better impulse control. Well, here are two composite vignettes drawn from my clients, my friends, and my own life. The first vignette's about a person who wants to be more spontaneous, and the other vignette's about someone who wishes to be more cautious. Do you see yourself in either of them, if only in part? This is first the person who wants to be more spontaneous. I suspect that I'm naturally risk averse. I recall being maybe 4 years old and my mother took my sister and me shopping. My sister would wander off curious about everything. I felt more comfortable staying right next to my mom. And then when I was maybe 6 or 7, I reached out to a dog and it bit me. That put me more firmly on the path toward being overly cautious and planful so I don't get bit, literally or figuratively. As an adult, I often regretted the few times I was impulsive, for example, falling for a bad boy and taking a job impulsively because I thought I could learn what I needed to on the job, or I was wrong. And now, I'm a single parent of 2 kids. I can't afford to be impulsive about much. For example, even though the experts say that over the long run it's wiser to have most of your money invested in stocks, I keep my money in the bank. But honestly, I wish I was less cautious, more adventurous, spontaneous. And now here is a vignette of someone who would like to be more cautious, planful. I've always been impulsive. One of my earliest memories was riding my bicycle, seeing wet cement and riding over it to see what would happen. No surprise, my parents yelled at me. When I got older, my impulsivity got me in trouble big time. One time I didn't wear a condom, got a woman pregnant. She insisted on having the baby, and now I'm on the hook for 18 years. Part of me likes getting adrenalized. That's why I play cards even though I usually lose. My impulsiveness is also affecting my health. Apart from the stress from what I just told you, I can't restrain myself from overeating and getting wasted. I need more discipline, more impulse control. Now let's turn to you. How spontaneous are you? Following questions inventory your level of spontaneity in various contexts, and I offer thoughts on each. These are true or false. True or false? When I buy things on impulse, whether a product, tickets to something, whatever, I rarely regret it. Well, if you'd like to buy more things on impulse, have you been too fearful of spending? Some of my clients grew up poor, and even though in reality they're very unlikely to end up poor, they've lived very parsimoniously, even reluctant to buy small things. Do you need to liberate yourself from undue fear of poverty? If you'd like to spend less, be aware of the moment of truth. When tempted to buy something discretionary, make yourself take a breath and ask yourself, is it wise? Should I shop further for a better priced item? And even if you feel you deserve to buy it, could you derive more and maybe more enduring pleasure in some other way? True or false? I rarely lose my temper, and when I have, in retrospect, I'm glad I did. If you'd like to express anger more, does your undue inhibition derive from other people's poor reactions to your previous expressions of anger? Or maybe you're reticent because expressing anger was deemed unacceptable in your family of origin. Should you now, when feeling angry but inhibited from expressing your anger, try to put on your statesman hat and decide whether and how to express that anger? Here's a tip. Usually, expressing anger is more likely to yield the desired result if you can say it in a face-saving way. For example, let's say a friend talks incessantly about him or herself, and when you try to talk about yourself, he or she quickly redirects back to themselves. Usually best is to say something like, maybe I'm wrong, but it seems we spend most of our time talking about you. Am I wrong? Even if the person denies it, you will have planted a seed. Of course, when you're angry, it's not so easy to be tactful, so think of that goal as aspirational. If you'd like to express anger less often, a problem with that is that many anger-prone people go from 0 to 60 in 1 second. Best I can suggest is that when you're facing a situation that's likely to trigger you, to rehearse in advance how your best self would respond. Chances are it's not in anger, let alone in fury. But if it's too late for that and you feel your temperature rising fast, see if you can muster the restraint to breathe and say, excuse me a minute, and then walk away and decide if you're best served by expressing anger, expressing even-handed concern, or saying nothing. True or false? I don't steal, for example, shoplift. If you'd like to stop stealing, ask yourself why you do it. The adrenaline rush? The sense you can get away with it? The Robin Hood view that it's okay to steal from a company or a rich person? If so, might the impulse be quelled if you picture how embarrassed you'd be if you got caught, or that you might be arrested, or simply that you'd feel like a bad person, even if stealing from someone with deep pockets? Note, by the way, stealing, of course, isn't limited to taking products. If a person lies or withholds information for selfish benefit, that too is stealing. The obvious example is a salesperson who hides the product's important flaws, but it also occurs in relationships, for example, when spending a significant amount of joint money without disclosing that to your partner. True or false? When I have sex, the day afterwards, I almost always am glad I did. If you'd like to be freer in how often you have sex, is that merely a behavioral choice, or is there a psychological inhibiting factor, guilt or undue fear of disease or pregnancy, even if you take precautions, fear of having sex entrapping you in a relationship you don't want? Would it be helped to be aware of what's behind your sexual restraint? If you'd like to be more restrained in deciding with whom and when to have sex, have you paid too heavy a price for your previous sexual behavior? Disease, pregnancy, having sex entangling you in an ill-advised relationship? Would it help to keep that in mind before you're in a tempting situation and then again right before that point of no return? True or false? When I use a mind-altering substance such as alcohol or marijuana, the next day I'm almost always glad I did. If you'd like to increase your use of mind-altering substances, do you need to remind yourself that you don't have an addictive personality, you're not distasteful when under the influence, and broadly, that your past experiences with the substance have for you been a net positive? If you'd like to decrease your use of mind-altering substances,
Give me a call whenever you're ready. Thanks, bud. Bye.
yeah, I'll call you in a few minutes. Sorry about that. If you'd like to decrease your use of mind-altering substances, do you need to consider how that's hurt you personally or professionally? Have you been in denial of its effects on you? And now let's turn to the takeaway. Do your answers to those questions or the preceding vignettes reassure you that you are where you want to be on the continuum from spontaneous to planful? If not, in light of the above, is there at least one change of behavior or mindset that you'd like to try? As in developing any new habit, whatever the issue, key is being vigilant to the moment of truth, that moment when you're, even if it's just for in that 1 second, deciding what to do. It may help you to stay vigilant if you can think of a particular time or a place or a person or an emotional state that makes you more impulsive or less so than you'd like to be. For some people, it's when they're bored at work or with a particular person or when they're happy or when they're sad or angry at themselves, at others, or the world. Each time you're thinking of doing something spontaneous, if you can take a breath and consciously decide case by case what the wise one within you wants to do, you'll have taken a potent step toward living the life that you want to live. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.